Good morning, students. In this video today we shall learn the sixth chapter of computer from ninth standard, Introduction to Ubuntu Linux. First, introduction. The success of Unix system stems from its tasteful selection of a few key ideas and their elegant implementation. The model of the Unix system has led a generation of software designers to new way of thinkful about programming. In this chapter, you will learn about the history of Unix. We'll be introduced to Ubuntu Linux, and finally we will see some options of running Ubuntu Linux. So students, in this video, इस वीडियो में हम Ubuntu Linux है उसका इंट्रोडक्शन पढ़ेंगे और हिस्ट्री जो यूनिक्स की हिस्ट्री है उसके बारे में भी हम पढ़ेंगे. So first, history of Unix. The Unix operating system developed at AT&T Bell Laboratories in 1969 has become a turning point in the operating system development scenario. So, this is the most important thing students कि जो यूनिक्स सिस्टम है वो कहाँ पे डेवलप हुई थी, तो वो AT&T बेल यूनिवर्स लेबोरेटरीज में 1969 में डेवलप हुई थी. द की पर्सन इन्वॉल्व इन दिस डेवलपमेंट वर कैन थॉमसन, डेनिस रिची, ब्रायन कैनिंगहम, डगलस मैक्लोरे एंड जो ओसाना. जो की पर्सन थे वो यहाँ पे थे कैन थॉमसन, डेनिस रिची और अदर्स आर देयर. In the past 3 decades, the operating system has had tremendous influence on the way we think about and develop operating systems and computer programs in the general. Using as well as Unix, as well as various Unix-like and Unix-derived operating systems continue to dominate the computer world even today. In the fast-changing world of information technology, few computer programs have survived for such a long time while still retaining their essential characteristics. So students, 3 decades से पास्ट 3 decades ये जो यूनिक्स ऑपरेटिंग सिस्टम है वो सभी लोग जो पीपल है वो उसको ऑपरेट कर रहे हैं. यहाँ पे in this slide you can see two key persons are there. The left side Ken Thompson is there and the right side you can see Dennis Ritchie. So Dennis Ritchie and Ken Thompson and others are developed this Unix operating system. Then more information about Unix. The people who developed Unix were originally working on a joint project with General Electric, GE and Massachusetts Institute of Technology to develop a large ambitious multi-user operating system called Multix, Multiplex Information and Computing Service. Multix full form is most important here. Though the project had many innovations, to its credit, it was a large and unwieldy project that was not progressing as expected. When AT&T decided to pull out the project, जो भी ये प्रोजेक्ट उन्होंने शुरू किया था वो जब AT&T बेल लेबोरेटरी से उन्होंने क्या किया को उसको अब पुल आउट करते हैं. सो देन व्हाट हैपन, थॉमसन, Dennis Ritchie and others decided to develop a smaller operating system to keep alive some of the ideas of Multix. So Dennis Ritchie and Thomson जो थे उन्होंने डिसाइड और अदर्स जो भी इन्वेंटर्स थे उन्होंने क्या डिसाइड किया कि इस प्रोजेक्ट के हिसाब से हमें क्या करना चाहिए, एक ऐसी ऑपरेटिंग सिस्टम हम बनाते हैं. Ken Thompson had developed a game called Space Travel while still on the Multix projects, but it was too expensive to run the game on a large machine in active use. He found a little used machine at Bell Labs and redeveloped Space Travel to run on it. He and his group gradually added the operating system ideas they had in mind and finally came out with a simple operating system that they initially called Unix because it supports a single user as opposed to Multix. So when he found a little used machine at Bell Labs and redeveloped Space Travel to run on it, उन्होंने क्या किया कि जो भी थे बेल लैब्स में ऐसे एक स्पेस ट्रैवल जो उन्होंने गेम बनाई थी उसको रन करने के लिए ऐसी एक मशीन भी उन्होंने बनाई, रीडेवलप की. He and his group gradually added the operating system ideas that they had in mind and finally came out with a simple operating system that they initially called Unix. यहाँ पे you can see when the first Unix operating system has developed, उसका नाम, उसका जो spelling था वो था UNICS, because it supports a large user, supported a single user as opposed to Multix. When it was developed further and started supporting multiple user, the spelling of the name was changed to Unix. जो पहले यूनिक्स डेवलप हुआ तो उसका स्पेलिंग था UNICS एंड देन आफ्टरवर्ड्स वो बन गया UNIX, यूनिक्स. की सक्सेस फैक्टर्स. जो यूनिक्स ऑपरेटिंग सिस्टम थी तो उसका सक्सेस क्या था, उसके सक्सेस की वजह क्या थी, तो इस स्लाइड में हम उसके बारे में पढ़ेंगे. The Unix developers gave out copies of the Unix operating system with source code and online manuals to others for free. जो भी Unix operating system को रन करते थे उन्होंने क्या किया कि जो भी डेवलपर थे Unix के, उन्होंने सोर्स को कोड भी फ्री देते थे, ऑनलाइन मैनुअल्स भी देते थे उसको कैसे रन करना है. Soon many universities, government agencies and private companies started using Unix. Because it is free, that's why some universities and government agencies started using Unix. Because the source code was available, it was easy to make the small amount of changes needed to run Unix on a new platform. It also allowed the universities and organizations to study the source code and enhance it with new features. Unix became phenomenally successful in the subsequent years. Dennis Ritchie and Ken Thompson were awarded the Turing Award, considered to be the Nobel Prize of Computing in 1983. जो ट्यूरिंग अवार्ड होता है वो मिलता है किसको, डेनिस एम रिची और कैन थॉम्सन को, बिकॉज दे मेड दिस यूनिक्स ऑपरेटिंग सिस्टम. और वो जो यूनिक्स जो ट्यूरिंग अवार्ड है वो नोबेल प्राइज़ की तरह ही कंसिडर करता है और उनको मिला था ये 1983 में. द सक्सेस ऑफ यूनिक्स can be largely attributed to the revolutionary concept it pioneered or popularized for the first time. It was the first successful operating system to have been developed in a high level language. ये ऐसी ऑपरेटिंग सिस्टम थी जो फर्स्ट टाइम हाई लेवल लैंग्वेज को यूज़ करके बनाई हुई थी. It also popularized the tree-like file system structure discussed in the previous chapter. जो उसका फाइल सिस्टम था वो tree-like structure का था. With some modification, it is still in use by all major operating systems. It simplified device access by treating devices also as files. Unix stored all configuration information in plain text files, making them easily accessible and modifiable. Unix also provided a very powerful command line environment and supported combining the power of existing commands in flexible ways to get a new job done. तो यूनिक्स ऑपरेटिंग सिस्टम थी वो कमांड लाइन इंटरफेस भी अच्छा देता था, जो लोग नए हैं वो भी इजीली उसे यूज़ कर सकते थे. This major innovation dramatically changed the way people worked, improved their efficiency, and continues to be a major strength of the platform. Unix started a new trend by providing an online manual with the system itself, so there was no need to walk to the library to fetch a printed manual in one forgot some command or option. अगर आप ये यूनिक्स ऑपरेटिंग सिस्टम यूज़ कर रहे हो, अगर आप सम कमांड्स, इफ़ यू विल फॉरगेट सम कमांड्स और सम ऑप्शंस, सो व्हाट कैन यू डू, यू कैन डायरेक्टली आपको इंटरनेट पे से आप डायरेक्टली उसके जो मेन्यू है वो बाय कर सकते हो वहाँ से. सो आपको किसी भी ऑफिस या लाइब्रेरी जाने की ज़रूरत नहीं. तो दिस इज़ द की फैक्टर्स. ये सारी फैसिलिटीज़ मिलने के वजह से जो यूनिक्स ऑपरेटिंग सिस्टम है वो ज़्यादातर लोग उसको यूज़ करने लगे. So students, here we have finished our chapter. Here we have finished our first part of the introduction to Ubuntu Linux. In the next part, means part 2, in part 2 में we shall learn something more about Unix operating system. Till then, goodbye.